King Solomon, son of the legendary King David, ruled the United Kingdom of Israel around 970 to 930 BCE. His reign is one of the most celebrated periods in the history of ancient Israel. His story, a fascinating blend of history and legend, continues to captivate us thousands of years later. The tales of his wisdom and grandeur have been passed down through generations, becoming an integral part of our cultural heritage. He is renowned for his unparalleled wisdom, immense wealth, and the magnificent temple he built in Jerusalem, which stood as a symbol of his devotion and architectural prowess. Solomon's reign marked a golden age for Israel, a time of unprecedented peace and prosperity. The kingdom flourished under his rule, with advancements in trade, culture, and governance. Solomon inherited a vast and powerful kingdom from his father David. David's legacy as a warrior king who unified the Israelite tribes laid the foundation for Solomon's peaceful and prosperous reign. David, a formidable warrior king, had unified the Israelite tribes and established a powerful monarchy. His military conquests and strategic alliances set the stage for Solomon's era of peace. Solomon, unlike his father, was known more for his intellect and diplomacy than his military prowess. He surrounded himself with wise advisors and scholars, fostering an environment of learning and intellectual growth. He used his wisdom to forge alliances and expand Israel's influence far beyond its borders. Through diplomatic marriages and treaties, Solomon strengthened Israel's position in the ancient world. Solomon's reign is a pivotal point in the history of Israel. His achievements in governance, architecture, and diplomacy left an indelible mark on the nation's history. His story, as told in the Bible, is a complex tapestry of wisdom, power, and ultimately human fallibility. The biblical accounts of his life offer profound insights into the nature of leadership and the human condition. His legacy continues to inspire and fascinate people around the world, offering timeless lessons in leadership, justice, and the dangers of excess. Solomon's life and reign remain a testament to the enduring power of wisdom and the complexities of human nature. Solomon is renowned for his exceptional wisdom, a gift he is said to have received directly from God. The Bible recounts how God appeared to Solomon in a dream and offered him anything he desired. Solomon, instead of asking for wealth or power, asked for wisdom to rule his people justly. This request pleased God, who granted Solomon unparalleled wisdom and discernment. Stories of Solomon's wisdom spread throughout the land and beyond. People from distant kingdoms traveled to Jerusalem to seek his counsel and witness his legendary judgment. His wisdom was not limited to legal matters. He was also known for his knowledge of nature, poetry, and philosophy. Solomon's wisdom is enshrined in the biblical books of Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Songs, which are attributed to him. One of Solomon's most significant achievements was the construction of the first temple in Jerusalem. This monumental task was a defining moment in his reign and a pivotal event in the history of the Israelites. This temple was not just a place of worship, it was the central symbol of the Israelite faith and a testament to Solomon's power and piety. It represented the unification of the tribes of Israel under a single divine purpose. The temple took 7 years to build and involved the labor of thousands of workers. These workers included skilled artisans, laborers, and craftsmen who dedicated their efforts to this sacred project. It was constructed of the finest materials, including cedar wood, which was imported from the forests of Lebanon, known for its high quality and durability, gold and precious stones. These materials were chosen to reflect the glory and majesty of God, making the temple a breathtaking sight. The temple housed the Ark of the Covenant, the most sacred object in Judaism, which contained the stone tablets upon which the Ten Commandments were inscribed. This made the temple the spiritual heart of the Israelite nation. The completion of the temple marked the pinnacle of Solomon's reign. It was celebrated with great joy and reverence, signifying a new era of spiritual and political stability. It was a magnificent edifice that stood as a symbol of peace, prosperity, and God's favor during Solomon's rule. The temple became a beacon of hope and faith for the people. The first temple remained the center of Jewish religious life for centuries until its destruction by the Babylonians in 587 BCE. Its loss was a profound tragedy, marking the end of an era and the beginning of a long period of exile and longing for the Jewish people. The fame of Solomon's wisdom spread far and wide. reaching the ears of the Queen of Sheba. She was a powerful and wealthy queen, ruling a kingdom in what is now Ethiopia or Yemen. Intrigued by the stories, she embarked on a long journey to Jerusalem to meet Solomon and test his wisdom firsthand. The Queen of Sheba arrived in Jerusalem with a grand caravan laden with gifts of gold, spices, and precious stones. She met Solomon and engaged him in intellectual discourse, posing riddles and questions designed to test the limits of his wisdom. Solomon answered all her inquiries with ease, impressing her with his knowledge and understanding. The Queen of Sheba departed, astounded by Solomon's wisdom and the splendor of his court. This encounter further cemented Solomon's reputation as a wise and powerful ruler. Section 5. A King's Justice. One of the most famous stories about Solomon's wisdom involves his judgment in a dispute between two women claiming to be the mother of the same baby. This tale has been passed down through generations, highlighting the king's unparalleled wisdom and sense of justice. Two women, both prostitutes, lived in the same house. Their lives were intertwined by fate and circumstance, sharing not only a home but also the joys and sorrows of motherhood. They both gave birth to sons within days of each other. The bond between them grew stronger as they navigated the challenges of raising newborns together. One night, one of the babies died. The grief-stricken mother was devastated, her world shattered by the loss of her child. In her despair, the mother of the dead baby then switched her child with the living child while the other woman slept, hoping to ease her pain by claiming the surviving infant as her own. In the morning, both women claimed the living child as their own. The house was filled with cries and accusations, each woman desperate to prove her motherhood. The case was brought before Solomon. The wise king listened intently, observing the emotions and arguments presented by both women. Solomon listened to their arguments and then called for a sword. His command shocked the court, leaving everyone in suspense. He declared that he would cut the living child in two, giving half to each woman. The room fell silent, the tension palpable as everyone awaited the women's reactions. One woman agreed to this, but the other begged Solomon to spare the child and give him to the other woman. Her plea was filled with genuine concern and love for the child's well-being. Solomon immediately recognized the true mother by her compassion and awarded her the child. His judgment not only resolved the dispute, but also demonstrated his profound understanding of human nature and justice. Section 6. Prosperity and Trade. Solomon's reign was a time of great prosperity and economic growth for Israel. He established trade routes with neighboring kingdoms, including Tyre, Egypt, and Arabia. These trade routes brought wealth and exotic goods to Israel. He built a powerful navy which sailed the Red Sea and the Mediterranean, further expanding Israel's trade network. The wealth generated from trade allowed Solomon to finance ambitious building projects, including his palace, the temple, and fortified cities throughout his kingdom. Solomon's reign was a golden age for Israel. He transformed Jerusalem into a magnificent capital city, attracting merchants, artisans, and scholars from all over the ancient world. Section 7. Solomon's writings. Solomon was a prolific writer and is traditionally credited with authorship of 3 books in the Hebrew Bible: Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Songs. These books are part of a section known as wisdom literature, reflecting on themes of life, death, love, and the pursuit of wisdom. Proverbs is a collection of sayings and maxims offering practical advice on various aspects of life, from personal conduct to business dealings. Ecclesiastes, on the other hand, is more philosophical, exploring the meaning of life and the inevitability of death. Song of Songs, the most enigmatic of the 3, is a collection of love poems celebrating romantic love and physical intimacy. While these books are attributed to Solomon, scholars believe they were likely compiled over centuries, reflecting the wisdom traditions of ancient Israel. Section 8. A Flawed King. Despite his wisdom and accomplishments, Solomon was not without his flaws. The Bible recounts how he had 700 wives and 300 concubines, many of whom were foreign princesses. These marriages, while strategically advantageous, led him astray from his faith. His wives introduced foreign gods and practices, and Solomon, in his later years, built temples to these deities. This angered God, who promised to divide Solomon's kingdom after his death. Solomon's extravagance and excesses, while initially bolstering his power, ultimately contributed to the decline of his kingdom. His story serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us that even the wisest and most powerful individuals are susceptible to temptation and the corrupting influence of power. Section 9. Solomon's legacy. Despite the controversies surrounding his later years, Solomon left an indelible mark on history. He is remembered as a wise and just ruler who brought peace and prosperity to Israel. His reign represents a golden age in Israelite history, a time of stability and cultural flourishing. The temple he built in Jerusalem, though destroyed centuries ago, remains a potent symbol of Jewish identity and faith. The story of Solomon's judgment between the two mothers continues to be cited as an example of his wisdom and his commitment to justice. His influence extends beyond the Jewish tradition. He is revered as a prophet and a wise king in Islam. His story has inspired countless works of art, literature, and music throughout the centuries. Section 10. Conclusion. King Solomon's story, a tapestry woven with threads of wisdom, power, and human fallibility, continues to resonate thousands of years later. He was a king who, blessed with unparalleled wisdom, led his people to unprecedented prosperity and built a temple that became the center of their faith. Yet, he was also a man who succumbed to temptation and whose excesses ultimately contributed to the decline of his kingdom. His life offers valuable lessons in leadership, justice, and the importance of remaining true to one's values. Solomon's story reminds us that true wisdom lies not just in knowledge and power, but also in humility and the constant struggle to choose right over wrong.